Hello there, good evening from Lara and me, and welcome to Friday night's calendar.
Thank you for joining us for tonight's main stories.
Calls to nationalise British Steel to help save thousands of jobs in Scunthorpe.
Yes, with the future of this steelwork seemingly hanging in the balance, the government is being urged to take drastic action.
It's a devastating blow. A lot of young lads involved in the industry.
Also tonight, promises that the North will no longer be held to ransom by poor transport links.
The Prime Minister has promised to fix the North's transport problems with major investment, but will it be enough?
The country's newest prison opens in Yorkshire. Calendar has been given access.
Before the clocks go forward on Sunday, the moon gets in front of the sun tomorrow. All the detail and, of course, your weekend forecast a little later on. And
I'll be your friend, and I'll help you carry on.
Standing by each other, how a love of singing has brought together these foster carers in Wakefield. Good evening. First tonight to calls to renationalise British Steel after a breakdown in talks between the Chinese-owned firm and the government put around 3,000 jobs in Scunthorpe at risk.
Jingye, which took over the firm 5 years ago, revealed plans to shut down the town's 2 blast furnaces and bring more than a century of steelmaking to an end.
Today, the Prime Minister was pressed on whether the government is doing enough to protect jobs and industry, but stayed clear of talk of bringing the firm back under its control.
Well, our reporter Jonathan Brown is at the Steelworks for us this evening. Johnny, are we any closer to a resolution?
Well, Michael, that's something that pretty much everyone that I've spoken to today appears to want. It is worth saying, though, that this is far from the first time that we've heard of threats being posed to people's jobs here, but there is definitely a sense that this is just about as desperate as things have ever got. Now, that's why we're hearing those calls for nationalisation, particularly from the likes of the Community Union and the industry body UK Steel. They both say that ending steel production here could have dire consequences, not just for Scunthorpe, but the entire country. Another shift for staff at British Steel. Another day questioning how many more they might have left. Amid plans to shut down its blast furnaces this year, putting up to 3,000 jobs at risk, workers left this morning exasperated.
I've worked here for 40 years. I've had my day, you know what I mean? But these young'uns have nothing to look forward to. I mean, this town's dying.
Same old, year in, year out.
People worried more than normal, do you think?
No more than you would be if you were about to lose your job, mate. It is what it is, that's the way it is.
The consultation over cuts comes after the firm's owners, Jingye, reportedly turned down a £500 million taxpayer bailout yesterday. The suggestion being they want double that to build 2 new electric arc furnaces. The Prime Minister today said a deal could still be struck.
We're in discussions. We've put a significant offer on the table, but I absolutely understand the significance of Scunthorpe.
Back in the town, the area's local MP met with unions to discuss next steps at the firm's headquarters.
You're a Labour MP and the Labour government, it appears, isn't coming to an agreement with Jingye about the future here. What are you doing to try and impress on Keir Starmer that this is a priority?
Look, this is a very difficult issue. If it wasn't a difficult issue, the previous government would have solved it a long time ago. This is not the time for Jingye to walk away and start these consultations. That is incredibly unhelpful, incredibly reckless.
Well, British Steel's Chinese owners aren't actually in that meeting that's taking place in these buildings behind me, but they did say yesterday that opening this consultation is necessary because of the hugely challenging circumstances that the business faces. They say they're committed to engaging with the workforce. Many of those hold decades of experience of setbacks, but are still drinking in the most recent threat to their livelihoods. Tony spent 38 years in the industry. He's a 4th-generation steelworker.
I felt hammered, to be quite honest. It's a devastating blow. A lot of young lads involved in the industry. it'd be devastating. Scunthorpe exists because of the bed of iron that it was built on.
Keeping its staff fed and watered has also long been a source of sustenance for businesses, though many of them know how quickly things can change.
The first time the steelworks went on strike in the 70s, my granddad had a small butcher's business and that busted. So it does carry a lot of history for me. The guys losing money from the steelworks, they've less money to spend in the pockets, and then it just has a rippling effect.
British Steel says unless a deal is reached, jobs could be lost here as early as June. A prospect that means the heat is on to give thousands of people who rely on this steelworks some hope for the future.
So, Johnny, clearly an incredibly worrying time for the town there, but there's also been significant political fallout in Westminster as well.
Yes, that's right. There certainly appears to be a collective desire across the political spectrum to keep steelmaking here in Scunthorpe. The Tory leader Kemi Badenoch has said that the government is offering only broken promises and warm words to people in this town, though. She says that this all boils down to the ideological pursuit of net zero. Reform UK has also echoed those words, saying that net zero has driven energy costs through the roof. Deputy Leader Richard Tice has backed the idea of nationalising British Steel too, while the Lib Dem leader Ed Davey simply posed the question today: who will stand for Britain, saying that none of the other party leaders appear to be doing so on this issue.
OK, Jonathan Brown reporting from Scunthorpe, thank you.
Well, the Prime Minister, as you saw, has been in our region today. He was in Huddersfield at a factory which makes the material that covers train seats. And he said that he brought good news, promising millions to fix the North's creaking transport system.
But critics fear there are still questions about essential parts of the network. Our reporter Katie Oscroft was at Huddersfield Station this morning, which is where the Prime Minister arrived by train. Katie, what did he have to say?
Well, first of all, Michael, guess what? The Prime Minister was late. He got on a Transpennine train in Leeds, bound here for Huddersfield, but it was delayed. Something he told the workers at the factory when he did finally arrive that he was sure had happened to them many times. But he promised to fix it with a major investment package. But there was no specific money promised for projects such as a new through station for Bradford, or indeed for the West Yorkshire Mass Transit scheme, which of course includes trams.
Firstly, I'm glad the new money on the Transpennine Express is welcome because it's desperately needed, as anybody who uses the line knows. On the wider scheme, there's £1.7 billion for transport across the north. And that needs to be used on all sorts of other transport measures, which it will be. What we're doing is working with local representatives and the mayors on exactly where that money goes.
So the Prime Minister's given a commitment to those schemes, but you have to fight for the money.
Well, look, we know that money is tight and there are demands all over the country. People with skin in the game, the Metro mayors, who understand their communities, who can prioritise what is needed, can work with GB Rail and can deliver on the ground for the people that we serve.
So what's been the reaction from people who use public transport on a daily basis, Katie?
Well, let's be clear, Lara, that commitment to the Transpennine upgrade, which is already underway just a little further down the line in Huddersfield, was very much welcomed. It's not just Sir Keir Starmer who's been delayed on a train. We've been covering the fallout from these delays for many years now. But we spoke to people today who've heard all this kind of thing before, including David, who pretty much gets on a train in Slathwaite every day.
All the focus in terms of the publicity is on how many fast trains they can do from one city centre to another. There's not much attention being paid to the places in between. We're not asking for a lot. We're just asking for an improvement on the present one train an hour.
It's taking us about an hour longer than people that we're meeting up there who are coming from London. It just doesn't make any sense.
But they need to stop investing in the south and say, no, you've had your lot. It's about time those further up the country have a go.
Well, it's worth saying that those people you just saw talking on a train, it was on its way from Huddersfield through Leeds, they were delayed too. Now, these improvements, we're told, were promised faster, reliable trains and more seats. Now, Sir Keir Starmer says the deadline for those improvements will be 2030. Let's hope that there are no more delays to that.
Absolutely. Katie Oscroft, thank you very much.
Some of the day's news in brief now. And the Ministry of Defence is investigating after documents containing sensitive military information relating to Catterick Garrison in North Yorkshire were found strewn across the street. The papers, some marked official sensitive, were discovered spilling out of a black bin bag in Newcastle before being handed to police. They reportedly contained details including of the base's perimeter, patrols and checking weapons in and out.
Unions have claimed that Leeds is facing a collapse of its care system as home providers threaten to withdraw their services over pay. 12 care companies say they will be forced to stop looking after their 1,500 service users unless they receive a fee increase higher than the proposed 1.6%. Leeds City Council say no decisions on fees to care providers have been made and they have listened to their concerns.
Unless this changes by April, which kicks in next week, they're going to pull out of their contracts. That will be an absolute crisis in Leeds because that will cover the care of over 1,500 of the city's most vulnerable people.
OK, still to come before the end of the programme.
Out of nothing, Sheffield United are ahead.
The Blades' Anel Ahmed-Hodzic on playing professional football while fasting in Ramadan.
Now, for some, it's considered an unwelcome mega-prison. For others, it's the part of the answer to our overcrowded jail population. Today, HMP Millsyke, the size of 39 football pitches and big enough for 1,500 Category C prisoners, officially opened near York.
Well, on a visit to the prison, the Justice Secretary said it had been designed with a clear aim to cut crime. But local campaigners have long been concerned about its potential impact on their community. Emma Wilkinson's been to have a look inside.
As the Justice Secretary was shown around HMP Millsyke, she was told all about how it's a prison fit for the future. But she's also grappling with the here and now of a system in crisis. Despite emergency early releases, capacity is back at more than 99%. And while this place may buy the government some time, prison places are being filled faster than they're being created.
This is not a crisis that we can just build our way out of. So even though we're going to be building prison places as quickly as we can, we are still going to face this difficulty with prison capacity. And that's why I've launched the landmark sentencing review, an independent review, to make recommendations to make sure that we never run out of prison places again.
The location, the scale of it.
Local campaigners like Colin are worried about the impact of this prison on their communities. Almost 3,000 people objected to it and there have been several protests over the years. Colin says there's limited public transport and the local road network, particularly this single-track bridge, he says, will not cope.
They already have traffic jams there and the ambulance service emergency vehicles can't get over the single-lane bridge. They've got to wait for the traffic lights because they can't be seen either side. So any extra delays, what this traffic will cause, is putting lives at risk. Visitors here will be coming 50 and 60 miles by car when they could have built this nearer to Leeds or Doncaster where they need more prison places.
You'll know that some of the people in this area for years have objected to this. They've always felt it's in the wrong place. What would you say to them?
Well, as you can see from the design of this prison, it's right next door to HMP Full Sutton. It's a big space and we needed a big prison. But there are 600 full-time jobs that are going to be created in the prison. The previous government over 14 years only built an increase of 500 cells. Nowhere near enough.
Millsyke is a resettlement prison, so its focus will be to cut reoffending by better preparing prisoners for life on the outside. There are 24 workshops on this site that will train up to 500 prisoners a day, a range of skills that in theory would be of use to industries that operate in this area. But critics question how many local businesses would want to employ those people and how easy it will be to get the staff needed to train them. The MOJ says the companies involved in running this prison are on track to have the staff they need. But But the Howard League for Penal Reform says for training like this to work, the government must focus on reducing the prison population.
And unless something is done about that, then unfortunately this prison, as with other new prisons, is just going to get overcrowded and it's just going to be failing people in the same way. But if we can get on top of the systemic issues, then absolutely these new facilities will have a chance to shine.
The first prisoners are due to arrive here at the end of April. Perhaps only then will the true impact of HMP Millsike be felt. Emma Wilkinson, ITV News.
Let's get some sport now. Arif's here. Actually, first of all, Ramadan comes to an end this weekend.
It does.
You've been observing for the last few weeks. How's it been?
Yeah, it's not too bad actually, Michael. It's amazing how quickly your mind and body can adjust to fasting. But these last few days are always the hardest because you know it's about to come to an end.
And you opened your fast, didn't you, with a footballer this week?
Yeah, that's right, Laura. Earlier this week I had dinner with Sheffield United defender Anil Ahmed Hodzic and his family. Now, he's one of the few Muslim professional footballers in our region. He welcomed me into his home to eat after sunset, of course, and he told me how this Ramadan has been whilst playing and how he's desperate to get the Blades back to the Premier League. Anil, good to see you.
You too.
How are you? As the sun begins to set in Sheffield, Anil Ahmed Hodzic invites me into his home to break our fast together. The Sheffield United defender is Muslim and has been observing Ramadan, where we abstain from food and water from sunrise to sunset and reflect on our beliefs. At exactly 6:33, we break our fast the traditional way, with dates in water. So how have you found Ramadan so far?
It's been easier than past years because the sun goes down faster. Nah, but it's been good. It's been very good.
As a professional footballer, I mean, you're playing elite level football while fasting and not being able to eat and drink. How tough is that for you?
I find it that I perform better during Ramadan.
Really?
Yeah, historically. I think having this to make me focus all the time, it's made me a little bit better.
When the manager hears this, he'll be wanting you fasting all season.
Yeah, no, I enjoy my food too much.
After 14 hours of fasting, we sit down to eat. So Marianne, tell me, what's Anna like with his food? Does he get hungry when he's fasting, and is he a fussy eater?
I mean, he tells me that he doesn't get hungry at all, but I can definitely feel there's a difference. But also normally in the day, if there's like he comes home, he hasn't eaten lunch or something, just 2 hours he hasn't eaten or 3, you can already feel like he's snapping a little bit at me. But he's been doing good, to be fair, this year.
We've seen during Ramadan as well, games being stopped to allow players to break their fast. How important do you think that awareness is now in the game, that is now happening?
People having more awareness of Ramadan, of course, it helps me and like many Muslim players, like that everyone knows like what we're going through, like at 1 month of the year, and it's just nice to have that.
Whilst following religious customs is important to Anil, he's also hungry for success.
O'Hare back into the area, it's put into the back of the net by Ahmed Hodzic.
8 games left in the season, Sheffield United right up there, joint top of the league. What would it mean to get this team promoted back to the Premier League?
No, it would mean a lot because we had a very tough season last season, and I feel like I personally owe it to the fans.
Why?
Because of the season, last season, it wasn't great. Like even me as a player, I didn't really want to play. Like it was, we lost every game. It was horrible to play. But this season, it's been amazing.
Do you feel you've got unfinished business in the Premier League after what happened last time?
100%. And if we can get promoted, and I do with Sheffield United, it would be amazing. It would be like a revenge story, something like that. Yeah, it would be nice, very nice.
Well, Sheffield United could go top of the league tonight as they take on Coventry, which you can watch live on ITV4 from 7:30 this evening. And Leeds United will be having a close eye on that result at Bramall Lane as both teams battle it out for the Championship title. The Whites will be given a boost as captain Ethan Ampadu is expected to be in the squad to face Swansea tomorrow. The midfielder has recovered from a knee injury earlier than expected.
I spoke a lot about his value for us as a group.
in the group, and of course also his value as a player is pretty beneficial. So yeah, pretty good to have him back in training, and also as an option. And he's our captain, and also like with him, it's also a bit special. So he will definitely be in the squad also for the game on Saturday.
Xero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Well, it's like a doctor's waiting room in here. You get rid of one presenter and another one appears. Hello, Kerry.
Just creeping in for a Friday.
You did, yes.
Day for getting the washing out, it seems.
It was lovely today, yeah. Cold breeze, felt very different, but in that sunshine, it's still really strong. It's March sunshine, you can feel it warm, can't you? The weekend is almost upon us. You know what else is creeping in tomorrow?
There's lots going on, isn't there?
The moon's going to be creeping in between planet Earth and the sun. This was the last partial solar eclipse we had in October 2022. A big thank you to Michiko Smith for this. What's happening tomorrow? Well, from 10 o'clock, yes, the moon will come in between the sun and planet Earth. So by around 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, it will look like this. A little bite will have been taken out of the sun. By around just gone 11, that's when we get our maximum totality. It's around 40%. And then just after midday, it's all gone. Now, in terms of where we are on planet Earth, we've got a really good chance, like I said, around 40%, not quite as good as parts of Canada, where they're going to have almost total eclipse. And weather-wise, also really good. We've got excellent viewing conditions, or a fair chance to northern and western parts where we might see just a little bit of hazy sunshine by lunchtime, but a really good chance. Obviously, what we don't want to do is look directly at the sun. So what I'll be doing is looking down at my camera and pointing my camera up at the sun. But what you can do as well is get a colander with the sun behind you and put like a blanket or a sheet, a white sheet, and you'll get loads of little sun shadows with little bites taken out of them.
Oh, that's clever. I like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Quick one on Mother's Day. Is it going to be all right?
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? I think it is. We've seen loads of daft pictures, so a big thank you for sharing. Of course, the clocks go forward, and I think Mothering Sunday will be dry, bright and breezy, but of course your forecast's coming up.
Good news.
Lovely, thank you. You're welcome.
Finally, let's finish on a musical note, shall we? One of the region's first ever foster carers choirs has been performing around Wakefield today.
The singing sport group made of 14 carers was set up a year ago, and now they hope by singing to the public, well, it will raise awareness of fostering and then encourage others to sign up.
Sarah Clark went to see them at Wakefield Cathedral.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow.
But through their love of singing and their passion to help others came the Care for Us community choir.
Lean on me when you're not strong.
To start with, we sang really badly, but we kept singing and we kept laughing and we kept talking to each other, and we've got better and better and better. And now I think like we can actually sing, we can actually produce something that's nice to listen to. And so why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we go out into the public and share our passion for fostering?
I'm so honoured to be part of something so special. Fostering isn't without its challenges. You know, you can have your difficult days, and we find when we meet, we support each other.
Enjoying watching his carer Lucy singing, 18-year-old Reese, who moved in with her 4 years ago.
Everything's changed for the better. Like, I'm more confident, I've got friends, I'm like happy with where I'm at now, and they're always like supporting me with like what I want to do, and yeah.
The singers have over 170 years of fostering experience and have cared for more than 316 children, but many more are needed in the region.
We all need somebody.
It's wonderful to see this because it is something that inspires, and I think we need to inspire people. Anybody out there can be a foster carer.
We are desperate for foster carers, and people think that they need super special skills to do it, and they don't. They need love and compassion and everything else we can learn.
The choir are planning more performances across the region and hope their efforts will encourage others to take up the role they find so rewarding. Sarah Clark, ITV News, Wakefield.
Food for thought. Perhaps you could be a foster carer.
Yeah, no, amazing how singing can bring people together.
Oh, it's
because you'd run a mile if I started singing.
And me. But Kerry's very good. Here she is.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. Yes, a fairly decent day across the region today. There were a few showers, especially this morning, creating a few rainbows, but some decent sunny spells in between. But feeling quite chilly, especially out of that sunshine in that fairly fresh northwesterly breeze. We've still got it tomorrow and still in the relatively cold air, but a good dose of sunshine. And then a weakening front coming through tomorrow night before high pressure builds Sunday into Monday. And it looks like sticking around nearby the UK for a good few days into next week and dragging in some dry and quite warm weather for the time of year. In the meantime, for this evening and overnight tonight, a few showers initially this evening, but tending to die out to mostly dry and clear conditions. And with lighter winds, the temperatures will take a bit of a tumble. So towns and cities 3s and 4s perhaps, but hovering around freezing in rural sheltered spots by the time we reach storm. So tomorrow morning between 10 and midday, that partial solar eclipse is most likely to be visible across most parts of the region. It's a really good start. After the chilly start, the best of the sunshine coming through in the morning. After lunchtime into the afternoon, some hazy sunshine as cloud builds, and then this weather front trying to push in after dark, but not really making much headway and tending to fizzle out. So ahead of that, temperatures just above the average, still quite breezy, still with some bright spells. The weather front pushes through, and then as we head through into Sunday, increasing amounts of sunshine. Great for Mothering Sunday, 14 or 15, bright and breezy. And then high pressure nearby over the coming few days, giving us some decent amount of sunshine, especially for Tuesday and Wednesday. A light and dry southeasterly, and temperatures well up into the high teens.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Oh, we're going to notice a real difference with the sunset then, aren't we?
7:40 the sun sets on Sunday, and that's after the clocks officially go back 1 a.m. until 2 a.m. Sunday morning. But of course, most of our phones do it, don't they?
And we have to get up a little bit earlier then, do we? Do we feel it that
just
way?
lose an hour, but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
7:40 p.m.
Every cloud. That's it from us. Thanks for watching this week. Bye-bye.
Bye.